there's just so much to do with Bob Lazar. There's a lot of discreditors out there, a lot of people out there that call Bob a liar.
But he's never changed his story from the 80s.
No, from the 80s, he's never changed the story. His story's been so reliable, it's been so detailed.
And he didn't get into this for fame. He doesn't even want be about this life, really.
No, if you speak to Bob himself and you see him in these interviews, you can tell that this whole story has definitely given his life a negative side, something that he's actually said himself now that he wishes he probably never came out and said what he said, but he did do it all for the life insurance policy. The whole discrediting thing that comes with Bob is the fact that there's been some sort of attempt to delete his history.
Yeah, that's correct.
And
the phone book. He was in the phone book, and they're saying he's not in the phone book.
Yeah, so the whole part of it is that they tried to say that he's not actually a scientist, he's not a physicist, that Bob's just a liar, that he never worked at Los Alamos lab, which is where he claimed that he basically got some of his qualifications from. And when he looked into it, they were denying it themselves. They were saying that he didn't work there and things like that. But George Knapp, as I say, he's a very intelligent investigative reporter. When he looked into it and he detailed it, he actually found in the phone book that G talks about Robert Lazar's name, which proves that he was in the original phone book for Los Alamos. He also was on the front of Los Alamos' newspaper article, and it's a picture of him with his Honda sports car with a jet engine on the back.
Wicked, yeah. I think maybe that's why he got the call to Area 51.
That's what Bob kind of says, is that, you know, the work that he done on the propulsion systems and the fact that he was a bit of a crazy, wacky scientist is the whole reason that they needed somebody to think outside the box to bring him down to look at these spacecraft, because these spacecraft that they were looking at were obviously so far advanced in technology that they needed somebody that could maybe think a little bit differently to the way they were.
Yeah, and he has a drawing, and he draws the craft like into such great detail, and he can explain it and the size of it in massive detail, like, which no one was really able to do before this.
Yeah, so if you do believe Bob's story like I do, and I think G does,
100%,
you can actually catch Bob Lazar drawing what he calls the sport model UFO that he encountered and got to work on, and he says that it's got 3 different levels, and on one level he actually got to work on, which was to do with the propulsion system.
Yeah, like they didn't get to work on every level. It was, you were brought in for a certain type part of the project, and you just got allocated that, and it seems like there's not a lot of communication in these areas. You were just brought in to work on this specific thing.
Yeah, that's right. Bob talks about this in great detail, and he called it basically a crime against science, that the government are withholding this information from the public, and that the whole program itself was so compartmentalized that they couldn't actually speak to the other scientists. They were called a buddy system, where Buddy was his science or lab partner called Barry, and that was the only person that he could actually exchange information on, and they were only allowed to work on the propulsion system. So we'd have other guys working on the weapon system, some looking on metallurgy, some looking at the navigational system, but they were never actually able to cross over and work with each other at all.
Yes, which is madness. Like, how are you ever going to figure out this stuff if you don't communicate?
Exactly. That, you know, it slows the process down so much that you know, it's going to take many years before you could actually do what they wanted to do or accomplish. So anyway, guys, to wrap all this up, Bob Lazar, I personally believe his whole story. Go watch the movie, go check out the podcast. I think G agrees with me. Yeah. Bob Lazar is telling the truth.
Make sure you watch it, guys.
For all the disbelievers and discreditors, keep on disbelieving, keep on talking about it, and it's great to have these debates with you, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, guys. Hope you enjoyed it.